Hello, welcome back. Today we will be flying from Keflavik in Iceland towards Gander International in Canada. It is a rather long flight, about 1400 nautical miles. So let's first start to check the flight plan. So here is the flight plan in Little Love Map. So from Iceland towards Canada, it's nearly 1400 nautical miles, so total time is about 3 hours 45 minutes. So the takeoff will be from runway 19 in Keflavik, and we will follow the Dilles 1 Charlie departure, fly runway heading, turn left towards Dilles intersection. Then we will have two oceanic waypoints at 58 west 40 north and 52 west 50 north, and then the arrival via the Elsir, which is the last oceanic entry point, and from Elsir we go direct Gander. So that is the plan. Now, having defined that plan in Little Nav Map, so this is the short annotation for the flight plan, we can then export this in FMS format to XP11. So export flight plan in explain FMS format. When we click there, it opens a window and the file will be placed in the explain directory output FMS plans, and you see the FMS format defaulted. We register the flight plan and it will be then available in the Zibo800. So for 1400 nautical mile, we will need about 12 ton fuel. So payload 12 ton. And let's keep the remainder. And as far as the payload is concerned, we will have a full payload. So let's say 24 tons. Reduced to 21 tons to 10, so that will be the maximum payload we can have. So we will be very heavy. Now we check how we can put that flight plan into the FMS. So first, battery on, we have ground power, so ground power on. Emergency lights on, and we align the iris left and right. On DC, align light illuminates, on DC, and then align. Yaw damper can be preset to on. Now we go to the FMC. Position in it, Reykjavik, Keflavik, Bravo India, Kilo Foxtrot. We have the airport coordinates. We take the GPS left, paste it and compare. We are in agreement. On the route page now, we identify the origin Keflavik, destination Gander, so Charlie Yankee Quebec X-ray. And we select a company route, which is simply the two ICAO code separated by a hyphen. Charlie Yankee Quebec X-ray. and we enter the company route and we activate, and then we have all the waypoints nicely put in till the Elzir. That was our last, so we still need to plan for the arrival. So we have 12 tons fuel, reserve standard 3 tons in the right position, cost index 35, and today, as you can see, we are crossing all the Atlantic tracks, so we will be very low. We only use flight level 320 to be below the oceanic traffic. Average wind 285.58. 285.58. So a rather strong headwind, as usual, over the Atlantic in this easterly direction. So temperature is 3 degrees. And we are doing a derated takeoff with 33 degrees as assumed air temperature. Takeoff, we could use flaps 10, but let's see, flaps 5 is good enough. We will have a high V speed for rotation 152. We will see how it goes. And we are now ready for starting the APU. Now, because this is a long flight over the ocean, we cannot use really VOR navigation, so we will have to use LNAV and VNAV. So everything is set in the FMC for that, so we can pre-arm flight director on first. See if we can preload VNAV and LNAV. So first heading mode is 192, that is 193 is probably better. That is the runway heading. And we are all set. So we don't need, we have the Keflavik VOR tuned. So, initial altitude, we plan for 6,000 feet. We have some altitude constraint. So for instance, at the Kilo Foxtrot 287, we have to be below flight level 70. At that Kilo Foxtrot 288, we have to be below 120. So we will put those constraints. So initially we could climb to 7,000, flight level 70 even. So that's good. QNH, local QNH is 0985. And the airport elevation is 169 or 150 here, so that is good. Auto brakes on rejected takeoff. We can put the electric hydraulic pumps on. Engine bleeder off for the moment. And we can select flaps 5. Let's turn on the APU. So first fuel pumps on. low oil pressure. Start 1, 2, 3, 4. EGT rising. Trim air on. You can put the packs on auto, which is indeed really cold. 3 degrees outside. So EGT is now decreasing, 600 degrees, and about 500 it will stabilize. It's now stable. We have the APU gen lights on, and APU on, bleeder on, and we have duct pressure increasing. We can select fasten seat belts on, and the temperature could rise, and we have some current from the APU. So let's review. We have trim air on, circulation fan on auto, left pack and right pack on auto, isolation valve open. We will be cruising at flight level 320. Don't know yet the airport elevation for the landing. And all that is now good to go. And we can request the pushback. So let's see where we are. We are on stand 4 probably. So we have to go nose left. Yeah. Remove the chocks and request a pushback.
Ground to cockpit, please show me where you want to go.
Yeah, that's probably good enough.
Ground to cockpit, tow is driving up.
So, auto brakes, rejected takeoff, flaps 5 are set, local QNH 0985 in accordance with the airport elevation. FMC is programmed. We can put 220 as initial speed. And let's see how it goes. After the pushback, we will taxi to runway 19er.
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed, ready to connect.
Okay, about to start. And when the pushback is started, we will start the engines. Commencing with the engine number 2.
So connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
Parking brakes released.
Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
Okay, waiting for the pushback to start. First, select nearly 18 degrees, so packs off. Bleeder is on. Duct pressure over 35. Starting engine number 2. We have EGT lights illuminate, fuel flow lights illuminate, and 1% is increasing, 0.2, 0.4, and at 1% we check N2 rotation, 24% fuel burn. AGT is now increasing, and we have some fuel flow increasing as well, so good sign, and one rotation is increasing. Start valve closing, good start on engine number 2. So we do have a config warning that indicating that we do have fuel in the center tank, so let's put the center tank fuel pumps on. Okay, starting now engine number 2, engine number 1. Same procedure. EGT lights illuminates, fuel flow light illuminate, and one rotation and 1% is increasing.
Operation complete. Set parking brake.
Parking brake is set, and 2%.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
Fuel run. EGT is increasing. Okay, start valve closed. Good start on engine number 1. Generator on the engine 1 and 2. Bleeder on the engine.
Tow is disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal will be on the right. We'll see you next time and have a great flight.
Thank you. So the generator are producing electricity. Pitot heat can come on. Window heat can come on. And all that is good. Isolation valve to auto packs on. So the temperature is decreasing very rapidly. That is not really realistic. And it will go from 10 to 20 in 2 minutes. Okay, we are now ready for the taxi. Taxi lights on. Wing lights on, APU off.
Okay, the cabin is secured. Have a good flight.
And we have some rain, so wipers on. And we are ready for taxi. We go to runway 19er on our left, on our right, sorry. No, it could be on the left. It's probably there somewhere. So, thrust at 30%. It's not enough. Let's put some more, 35. So indeed runway 19 is on the left, so at the end of this taxiway we turn left towards the holding point of runway 19er. Thrust idle. Still need some thrust. runway lights on, runway turn-off lights, start ignition switches to continuous, APU is off, so APU bleeder off, and we can start the clock. So here on the taxiway Kilo, we turn left on November, will be November 4. November 4 is identified. And we turn left towards the holding point of runway 19er. There is the holding point for the runway 19er. Oops. Crossing Echo 4. And next one is the runway. So we are about to take off, so we have received the landing takeoff clearance, landing lights on, auto thrust on, some thrust now, 25–30%. This is very funny. The aircraft is sticking on the runway. Nearly 40% to start rolling is no good. Turning right, we have flaps 5. Landing lights are on. On the runway heading 193. Thrust at 50% stable. Takeoff power set. Toga. Thrust at 91%.
80 knots.
80 knots check. Release back pressure.
E1 rotate.
150 rotate. 5% pitch.
Positive
10%
rate.
pitch. Rep. Maintaining the 10% pitch.
400.
Autopilot on. First hold. LNAV and VNAV. Flaps 1. Maintaining 220 knots for the waypoint speed restriction.
1,000.
So LNAV is engaged. Turning right. Increasing speed to 230, flaps up. Maintaining 250 knots now. Climbing at 3,000 feet, that's a little bit silly because we have to stop at 7,000. Flaps up, no light, gear off. Keflavik now 8 nautical miles. Temperature +4, so engine anti-ice required, especially in this rain.
$1,000 to go.
We will be leveling at flight level 070. We are still on the altimeter. Leveling. So we need to maintain flight level 070 till the next waypoint. The next waypoint we can climb to flight level 120. And we staying on 070 for the time being. And after that we can climb to our cruising of flight level 320. So 21 nautical miles to the waypoint Kilo Foxtrot 287. That's our 7,000 feet restriction. You see the next waypoint is very close and the restriction is 12,000. So no way we can climb 5,000 feet in 2 miles. Or 3. 5 miles. Maybe just. So we are on the FMC speed. LNAV is engaged, VNAV path is engaged, so we are meeting the altitude constraint. So we stay at flight level 70 until the waypoint, and then we climb to flight level 120. Still at flight level 070. Well, technically 7,000 feet because I'm still on the altimeter. If I switch to standard, it will be well above. Okay, approaching now the waypoint is 12 nautical miles. So Dallas is the end of the departure. And it's a little less than 40 miles away. Quite a long departure. So Dallas is indeed at 60 nautical miles from Keflavik. And then it's the ocean. So outside temperature +1, still raining. .5 nautical miles to go, and then we start climbing again. .5 nautical miles. Okay, passing now the waypoint, Kilo Foxtrot 287, and indeed we are climbing to flight level 120, altimeter standard, and you see the jump, nearly 1,000 feet. And again we are doing a crazy climb at nearly 3,000 feet per minute for 5 miles. Two miles to go, and we will of course be below the flight level 120. That's impossible to do. Will be just over flight level 100. Now we increase the speed, so the climb rate will decrease to practically 0, 500 feet per minute or less. It's not really realistic neither. Should at least maintain 500 feet to increase the speed to climb speed of 287 or 296 even. And now we restart climbing again. And we can select our cruising altitude of 3,200.
and gentlemen, please continue to observe the fasten seatbelt sign until the captain has switched it off.
So
We
he's
do recommend for your confident safety
constrained on
that you keep
Dallas.
your seatbelt securely fastened throughout your flight. There is a call bell, reading light and fresh air vent in the panel just above your head, and we'd like to remind you that this is a strictly non-smoking flight, and all toilets are fitted with smoke detectors. We invite you to sit back, relax and enjoy your flight with us.
So climbing indeed now to flight level 320, and we start cruising, climbing 2,500 feet per minute, not too bad, so decreasing a little, and Dallas with 8 nautical miles away. Keflavik 52. We can check what could be our cruising. Optimum is 3.5. No, I am staying below because we cross all the Atlantic tracks. As you can see on little nav map. So we are crossing, all the Atlantic tracks are nearly parallel, so but they will be much higher. The majority is above flight level 340, so it will be no factor for them. And we are now passing flight level 145 for flight level 320. We can select wipers off, all lights off, start switches to off, and seatbelt signs auto. Check the cabin altitude is raising, engine anti-ice probably could be off at this stage. We are above the clouds and at a ground speed of 360 knots, so engine anti-ice off. All the rest looks good. Yaw damper is on, window heat is on, all hydraulic pumps on, packs on, cabin temperature 24 degrees, APU is off, strobe light, this could be, yeah, it is correct, and APU is off. Good, good. And on this note, we will stop the stream here and we will catch you back later when we'll be close to the descent phase. See you later. Okay, some news from the flight deck. We are currently flying at cruise altitude of flight level 320 towards waypoint 58 west 40 north. If we check the FMC, we have one intermediate airport in Greenland, Bravo Golf Bravo Whiskey, which is currently at 303 nautical mile. From Keflavik to return we are at 430 nautical mile, and the airport at our destination is at 959 nautical mile. So we have 3 airports within the 2 hours range. So the arrival in Gander is foreseen at 2:04, which is 2 hours and 5 minutes from now. Fuel, we will land with 2 tons of fuel left, as we have really a strong wind for the time being. 32 knots headwind mostly, and it will still increase a little, so we shall see. See you when we are close to Elsyr for the arrival. Bye. Welcome back. So we just passed the 5250 November waypoint. Now we are heading towards Elsyr. So it's probably time to check the arrival. So we had a strong crosswind, 108 knots. Time at destination is 14:29, roughly 35 minutes from now. So we need to plan the arrival. So see where we are. Approaching now, going back or going down towards Elsyr. The weather at Gander. So airport elevation 496. The weather 290 at 9, gusting 17. Would be sporty. 290 at 9. And the altimeter, not the QNH anymore, is 3009. So we could go for a runway 31 or 30. No, 30 is very, very small, so it would be runway 31. Let's see if we can have some approach available. Runway 31. 31 is interesting because there is no ILS, of course, so it will be a airnav approach and visual 31. Okay, so the runway heading is 307. Let's plan that in FMC. So Gander arrival runway 31. I don't know if we need some waypoint. Okay, so that is set. Runway length is 8,800 feet. So on the verge of auto brakes 3 probably. To be on the safe side. Approach speed 151, flaps 30. So we will select auto brakes 3. And see if we have some constraints. So we should be a levat above 2,100 feet. So let's do continuous descent. 2,100 feet. Altimeter was 3009. So we go to so 3009. With 9-inch. So the top of the sand, we can check that, is 140 miles away at 1414 Zulu. So 15 minutes from now is the start of descent. As far as the fuel is concerned, we will be landing with 2.1 ton. So calculation was not that bad. A little more than what we planned. We planned for 3 tons remaining, and we will have 2.1. Of course, this is due to the wind, which was mostly a headwind, and we still have a strong wind, but it's mostly crosswind for the time being. You can check the component. So we have a headwind of 52 knots and a right crosswind 117 knots. 52 headwind is still significant. So runway 31 is in use. But for the rest, we have to wait another 10 minutes or a little more to start descending. So since the pushback, we have 2 hours 51 minutes passed. On the FMC, what we can also do is some range ring around runway 31. Under 98 nautical mile, and 1 ring at 4 miles. Second ring at 10 miles, and the third ring at 20 miles. So the airport elevation was 496, so let's say 500. So cabin temperature is still 24 degrees. Nearly 25. It's a little high. So we can see that the top of descent mark is just after the waypoint El Sir. El Sir is one of the last oceanic track. Before entering to the Canada airspace, or probably Gander Center. So we will see how VNAV behaves for the descent. It's quite... We only have less than 100 miles. So it will be quite a rapid descent. we shall see. So LCR is foreseen at 14:13, so 13 minutes from now. Now at Gander, there is probably a VOR in the vicinity. Yankee Quebec X-ray on 11270. We can tune on the radio page. 11270 is there on both sides. Why not? Of course, we are still outside the range. We still have quite a few miles to go. 194. So runway heading will be 307. Both sides. So the transition level in Canada as in the US is probably 18,000 feet. Flight level 180 is the lowest flight level. Below that we are on the altimeter setting. So when we start to descend, we can immediately set the altimeter to 0985. No, sorry, 3009 inches. So the LCR intersection is now at 74.5 nautical mile. 10 minutes from now, and then we will start descending. Now we still have some fuel in the center tank that we can use. 500 kilo. Now there is also a little fuel imbalance, so that we can eliminate using the cross-feed valve to equilibrate the two tanks. And when the two tanks are equal, we go back to the tank to engine configuration by closing the cross-feed valve. Now you see also the difference in the clock. So on the captain's side we have the Zulu time, 14:05, and 10:05 is more the local time. So they are 4 hours before the Zulu time in Canada, North Canada, Northeast Canada. So after Gander, tomorrow we'll continue the flight going from Gander to Halifax, and the day after it will be probably Halifax, Boston. So Elsir is now 55 nautical mile. And it will be nearly 14:14, so 8 minutes from now. Still overcast below, so we don't see anything. Hope the capture screen is different than that, because that is way too... we don't see anything on the screen. Elsir, 39 nautical mile. And the wind is still very heavy, 160 knots. So if we take the headwind component, that's a 63 headwind and 147 crosswind from the right. We do not yet receive the signal from Gander, and that is a little bit weird. It's probably Gander is 125 nautical mile. So in theory if it is a high range VOR, we should get the signal till probably 200 nautical mile. So this is a feature of X-Plane. It's not showing that VOR at 125 miles. So Elseer is now 20 nautical mile now. We still have some way to go before the descent, but it should start automatically now on VNAV. We have changed the altitude. So the time for the descent is 14:15, 3 minutes from now, and we start the descent. Now it will probably be a fast descent. We shall see, but I'm expecting more than 3,000 feet per minute. Sometimes. So Elseer is 11.5. We have 120 kilos in the center tanks. So very shortly we will have to switch off the fuel pumps on the center tanks. $100 kilos. Elseer 7 miles. So the next waypoint after Elseer will be Levad, and then goes in. We're just turning to Levad, Lima Echo, Victor Alpha Delta, and then we align with the runway. Now in the turn we have the fuel light on, but we still have 70 kilos. So it is a little premature to switch off the fuel pumps. Now, as we level, the light extinguishes. Now waiting for the top of descent. So on this heading we have mostly a headwind, 160 knots, and the headwind component is 137 knots. Wow. And of course the ground speed is now this less than 320 knots. Approaching the top of descent anytime soon, probably less than 2 miles. And we have no fuel in the center tank, so indeed switch off the center fuel pumps. And now we should see that the two wing tanks should equilibrate. There is still a 40 kilos difference. 30 kilos now. And we start descending. Thrust idle. Descending at 2,300 feet per minute. $20 kilos in balance in between the right and left wing tanks. Okay, less than 10 kilos, so we can close the crossfeed valve and return to a tank to engine. So each wing tank is feeding its own engine. So 3 hours 11 minutes in the flight since the pushback. And we are approximately, what is the time at destination? 14:35, so 25 minutes from now to get down on the runway. Now we see here with the green arc that we will be at 2,100 feet at the waypoint Livat as planned, and we are bang on the VNAV path. So, and finally we receive the Gander VOR, all is fine. Now we still need a lot of thrust to maintain the speed. Probably 85%. He wants to maintain a high speed descent, 287. And that is probably excessive, but it's now returning to thrust idle. A little bit weird. I don't know if that is what the real airplane is doing, but I have my doubt. So descent rate is now a little more, going back to 1,700 feet per minute. So we need some thrust to maintain the speed. Let the speed decay for the moment, 280. So Gander VOR is at 71.5 nautical mile. We are nearly doing a straight-in approach to runway 31. And now again the thrust is going up to 80% from idle. Crazy. And now decreasing again. Back to zero, thrust idle. 1900 feet per minute on the descent. We are passing now flight level 220, so probably seatbelt signs on. I'm wondering, we should also put some engine anti-ice. As the outside temperature is minus 19 degrees and we have lots of clouds. Entering the soup. Second layer of cloud there. So let's check the constraint. Yeah, levat probably should be 80 knots as we intercept. So it's doing all the way from 0 to 80% thrust. It's the third time already. Instead of just keeping a constant thrust. So passing flight level 185, we go to altimeter 3009. At this altitude the wind has decreased a little, it's now 99 knots, headwind. Again from it stopped at 72% and 2 and 1 is idle thrust 37. So we will soon reduce the speed, so to meet 250 speed restriction at 10,000 feet. it will probably reduce the descent rate a lot, and then resume when it is below 250, and at that time it will probably complain that drag is required, which is a little bit stupid. Now we have back thrust at 75% and down to idle thrust again. So we are passing 13,300 feet for 2,100 feet. We don't see anything yet from the coast. Passing to 12,500 feet for 2,100. Commanded speed is still 287. Actual speed 276 and decreasing. Bless you. Passing the decel point, we will see, oops, yeah, target speed is now 240, so thrust idle reduced, and we reduce also the descent. It's now 900 feet. So nearly leveling. Descend at 400 feet per minute. So we are doing the RNP approach to runway 31. So it's very easy in this case because after the waypoint Levat is straight onto the runway. And we pass now 10,500 feet, speed 238, so it will start to increase the descent if required to maintain 240 knots. It doesn't do that yet. Now the speed is getting low, 225. Thrust is increased finally. We still descend at 600 feet per minute, 500 feet per minute. And we pass 10,000 feet now. Levat is 22 nautical mile. And now the descent is 1500 feet per minute. At 240 knots. The outside temperature is still minus 11 degrees. So we leave the engine and the ice, of course. So Gander is at 28 nautical mile. Let's see if there are more speed restriction goes in, probably 160, and then the runway. So we have just passed 8,000 feet, so probably time to put some lights on. Landing light, runway turn off light, taxi light, start, switches to continuous, and seatbelt sign is on. So there is no ILS for runway 31. So what we have here is a FMC glide. It's not a real one. And we pass now 6,500 feet for 2,100 feet. And we maintain 240 knots for the time being. The fuel, we have 2,300 remaining, and probably 100 kilos for the descent and approach. So 2.2 instead of 3. I'm not sure why it's trying to level at 5,000 feet. Oh yeah, now speed is reducing to 213, so probably we could use flaps 1. It's now reducing to 193 knots. So we could use flaps 2 now, just below 210. Flaps 2. So we are now passing 4,700 feet. We are above the path. That's not very good, is it? Flaps 5. And we are now intercepting the approach to the runway 31, so 307 on the heading. We are at 173 knots Passing 4,000 feet. Runway 31, 11 miles. .5 nautical mile, gear down. Gear down 3 green, flaps 15. Reducing the speed to 160 knots, 163.
Thousand to go.
7.2 nautical mile. No sign of the runway yet.
$2,500.
Continuing the descent. -7 degrees. 163 knots. And we have the runway in sight. So first let's switch off the auto throttle off, and reduce the thrust to maintain 160 knots. Flaps 25. Flaps 30 now. And reduce 150. Passing 1,500 feet at 1,000 feet above ground, autopilot off. Continuing the descent. Too white, too red. .62, a little too fast. Reduce
500. $400. 300. 200. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Thrust closing. And reverses. Less than 300 feet per minute from the landing. That's good for this runway.
80 knots.
reverses and flaps up.
Thank you for flying Ryanair. Last year, over 90% of our flights arrived on time. We hope you enjoyed yours, and we look forward to welcoming you on board again soon. Ryanair. Low fares, made simple.
So,
Ladies and gentlemen, you're all very welcome to this airport. For your own comfort and safety, please
let's see
remain
if there is a
seated
taxi
with
at the
your
end. I
seatbelt
don't
fastened
know,
until the aircraft
otherwise we
has
will have to
switched
backtrack.
off and the captain has switched off the fasten seatbelt sign. Please refrain from smoking until you have reached the
Looks like
designated
there is
smoking
one.
area, which is well outside the terminal building. On behalf of your crew on board today, we'd like to thank you for choosing to fly with us, and we wish you a safe onward journey.
And that's the taxiway Bravo. So, turn off switches off, landing light off, just idle. Runway turn off light off, strobe lights off, APU starting, flight director off, thrust at 30%, I will not see the replay because it crashes all the time. So first go to the stand and switch off the engines. So total flight time for the moment 3 hours 37 minutes. I think 3 hours 40 was planned, so a good estimate. So tomorrow we'll go from here, Gander, towards Halifax, still in Canada, and the day after it will be Halifax, Boston, and probably after that Boston, Montreal, Montreal, thrust idle for the turn, some brakes, 15 knots ground speed, so let's take this position. And we stop here Parking brakes on. APU gen on. Bleeder on. Fuel engine number 1 off. Engine number 2 off. Into decreasing. Fuel pumps off. Taxi lights off. Strobe light off. Anti-collision light off. Wing light off. IRS off. Yaw damper off. Window heat off. Engine anti-ice off. Hydraulic electric pumps off. Packs off. And finally seatbelt signs off. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Gander International, where the local time is something like 10 hours 47. No, 10 hours 17. Yeah, it's interesting. There is 30 minutes more. Okay, see you tomorrow.